Hey guys, welcome back to Fourth Wall Reactions. Today I am checking out more Black Sails. This is season 2, episode 5. Last episode.
Fire.
Let's check this out.
It's not the rumours that concern me, it's the scrutiny that follows that. And what that scrutiny might unearth.
So someone might discover you and he shared a bed.
I'm concerned they might dig past that and discover something far more damaging than that.
I have a theory. I will share it at the end.
You'll remember that you were the same man who, when handed a blank page pulled from Mr. Singleton's corpse, stood by the captain for the sake of the bigger picture.
True.
I'm going to see my brothers now. Until I know what you're going to say to the men, I can't let you say anything to the men.
Brothers being the crew, I take it.
It's quite good. But here's the thing. But great art has felled empires, and therein lies all the difference.
Fruit.
You were saying something about the articles. It can wait. Excuse me.
Problems with Anne.
They hang men for this.
Don't be naive.
When they have political motive, they use it as a pretense to hang men. Don't treat me like I'm someone else. I know what London is too. You're suggesting we go there?
A restored New Providence Island will need a governor. Who better qualified to oversee the building of the new world than Thomas? With these pardons, we can accomplish that and leave London behind.
I'm wondering why he wants to leave London behind so badly. Does it have to do with his past, his lower status?
You want me to prove to Underhill that I can be his partner, that I can be trustworthy? Then you have to prove the same to me. I have spent a lifetime exposed to your self-serving lies. They're the manure from which I sprouted. And if I can identify the specific motive or not, I still come to expect that stench anytime you darken my door.
She's not wrong.
Aye, they know your plans to recover the gold must be kept secret and silent.
I mean, that's the worst kept secret ever, though, right? Hi.
I've come upon some information which changes things for you. You must not move against that fort. I understand why you need this island. I understand it all because I was there the day our lives ended and all of this began. I have been loyal and protective and fucking committed to you since that day, and I am asking you to come with me so that I can save your life.
There's an opportunity here today. You perceive the danger about this to be imagined. I told you when this began to be careful of those people. I thought you'd heard me, son.
Danger from the pirates or danger
I
from
heard you, sir.
the Hamiltons?
Lord Hamilton isn't someone we should be wary of. He is exactly the kind of man we should be listening to.
Oh boy.
Sir, I don't know what he told you, but... Yes, you do. I would like to defend you. I would like to remind myself that every man has his flaws, his weaknesses. It is too profane. It is too loathsome to be dismissed. This is your end. Sir, please let me explain. You are summarily discharged from service.
Oof.
No charges will be drawn against you, provided you leave London quietly and are neither seen nor heard from again. It happened quickly before I could do anything to stop it. They took him. Took him? Took him where?
Bethlehem Royal Hospital. He is to be committed there owing to his uncontrollable grief over having learned of my affair with you.
Our affair? I have friends in Amsterdam, Paris, Brussels. I can get you set up comfortably. Perhaps
so
at some point I
nice.
can figure out a way to get you back here. We're gonna get him out of there.
We can't.
You watch me.
You think you're angry about this?
I'm beyond that.
I am enraged! He is my husband. Before they took took him away, he made me promise him that no matter what happened next, that you and I would take care of each other.
We won't be with your friends. We're not going to Paris, or Brussels, or Amsterdam.
Then where are you going?
Going to Nassau. She's still trying, bless her.
Don't.
What?
You're crowding me. I understand this is very important to you, but I can't work like this.
Can't work like this.
You haven't heard?
It's like the worst kept secret.
Everyone's saying it wasn't there. They ran into a man of war instead, managed to make that ship.
Yes, I know. Just indulge me.
Max's share ain't the only item the men took issue with.
Sans.
They will accept one or the other, but not both.
Huh?
Yeah. How are we going to get her to keep turning out those leads when she finds out she ain't getting her own share?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's only temporary. And you'll be back sailing with us like this never happened.
Oh.
You chose her.
Mm.
And
Mm. Mm.
it's become clear to me that a crew requires two men to function. One to tell them what to do, and another to tell them why they should want to do it. I'm a hard man not to like. And at the end of the day, and all else being equal, liked is just as good as feared. We like him. How did you end up in the water? Keep focusing on how I went in. Perhaps you should be more worried about the thing that took me out. You need to release me, and the longer you delay, the more likely I might choose to take it personally. I would say I have some choice. Oh, easy, you don't. We like him too.
You left me here because I wasn't your son.
Yes. I saw no future in which your daughter would have a meaningful part in that. You've proved the conceit possible. You are making real what was for decades a fantasy. You have proven me so very wrong. And I could not be proud of you for it.
I just don't. I mean, he's not wrong, but I just don't. I think he's saying all the right things and just saying what she wants to hear.
I have plenty. It would be best if we could be alone.
I love how Miranda, in every situation, is always like pulling people aside for a private word.
A moment, please. May I speak with you in private, please? It would be best if we could be alone.
You pulled me away from my men out of concern for
The girl's name is Abigail Ash.
Yeah.
Peter's daughter.
Yes.
You need to obtain her from Captain Vane, alive and unharmed, and you need to return her to Carolina, to her father.
Peter Ash isn't the man that you remember. 6 months ago, he hanged 4 men in his harbor for possession of pirated goods. This is not a man that we can negotiate with.
You are still the man who sat in Thomas's saddle and spoke of virtue and reason and forgiveness. Found inspiration in him. And you will remind Peter that somewhere in his heart, so is he. There is no other way once you're willing to tell the truth about your intentions here.
I think that I've made my intentions very clear.
No. I think you're fighting for the sake of fighting. Because it's the only state in which you can function. The only way to keep that voice in your head from driving you mad.
What are you talking about?
The one telling you to be ashamed of yourself. For having loved him.
This is what I suspected. This is what I suspected before all the insinuating talk. It's really good foreshadowing, actually.
You were told that it was shameful. And part of you believed it. I loved him, and he loved me. what he shared with you, it was entirely something else. It's time you allowed yourself to accept that.
The only thing I'm ashamed of is that I didn't do something to save him when we had the chance. That instead I listened to you.
Oh, no shame. Oh! Shit! It scared the crap out of me! Alright guys, apologies for the crappy lighting. I know I look like I'm glowing. But I started the recording a little late, so I'm dealing with lighting issues. But I really loved that episode a lot. I thought it was really fascinating with this theme of unconventional roles. You have the situation with Jack and Anne and Max's new crew, and the men complaining about Max's role and Anne's role. And you have this discussion with Eleanor and her father about his expectations of the inability of a woman to be involved in his work. And then you have the issue of Thomas and Captain Flint and Miranda. And I find all this fascinating, and I have been thinking about this ever since I first started watching the show, because the sexuality on this show is so fluid, particularly for a period piece. And, you know, it's a very particular way of wording it, because obviously homosexual relationships and love between the same genders has existed for forever. But societal attitudes for it, not so accepting. Now, I get on Nassau how the rules of society are a little more lax. I feel like, and I talked about this in the last episode too, I feel like Max's situation, because her business and her livelihood and her identity are just revolve around sexuality, I think she's a lot more comfortable with it. Eleanor, I think because Eleanor is also used to fighting to be in a non-traditional role, also hasn't had a problem with it. Anne's place amongst traditionally male piracy, I mean, historical fact, more or less. It's unusual, but it happened. It's alleged to have happened, I guess. And for a while, I have suspected that there was a relationship between Thomas and James. Just because, the love between Miranda and Thomas was, so deep. But clearly he had no problem with her being with other people. And these rumors, even before she took up with James, these rumors had gone around like, oh, you get to, screw his wife and all that crap they were talking about in the pub. I had suspected it before this episode, and I suspected it even stronger right at the beginning, and then just glad to have it all confirmed, because a lot of things make sense. All the things that Miranda and Flint argued about at the end of last season make sense. About, he didn't want a pardon, and I was like, for what? well, um, and for Flint to be wrestling with not only all the stuff that has been brought up about how far he'd come from his lowly stature, and dealing with all of that classist stuff, dealing with rumors and allegations about sexuality on top of all that, and for him to be in a very sort of, for lack of a better term, toxic, masculine, kind of hyper macho world of piracy. The interesting thing is how most of the characters, I mean, obviously except for, Hamilton Sr. and the status quo, but in Nassau, it's just sort of all taken with a grain of salt. And I feel like the love that Flint had for Hamilton wasn't really so much about sexuality as it was just he loved him as a person. I mean, obviously it was sexual as well, but what I'm saying, I guess, is I don't know that if Flint would be in love with another man other than him, like this was the exception. That Thomas was such a beautiful human being, an idealistic human being, and charismatic, and that everybody loved him. But that's really beautiful and tragic at the same time. So going forward, I'm just looking forward to, maybe it's I'm sorry, I just adjusted the light so I wasn't glowing as much. I'm sorry, I'm not good with lighting. But anyway, in future episodes, I'm going to look forward to that continued exploration of this topic, because I've always thought it was really interesting on this show, because usually in a historical context, there's a lot of, rules and societal, taboos about all this. And they haven't really seemed to be an issue on Nassau. So I like that they showed us that contrast between what's permissible in London, what's acceptable in society, and outside the realm of all these do's and don'ts is Nassau. So, really fascinating episode. And I loved learning more about not just the facts of their past, but just just what they went through as people. And the character building and stuff. So I understand so much more about why they are the way they are and who they are to each other. Like when Miranda seduced the pastor, I was a little confused about, just motive and why and what if you love Flint, I don't understand. But I'm kind of understanding more about their relationship to each other, but also her frustrations and everything that she went through too. So it's a great episode. Great episode. Elsewhere, Anne has been screwed business-wise. She's been cut out. I don't know what she's going to do about that, but it sucks. I can see just logistically why he would choose Max, because she has the more important role as far as the information that she's going to get and what Jack needs from her and what the crew needs from her. But I just don't know what Anna's going to do about this. I mean, she's already helped bury a whole bunch of crew people, so these guys better tread lightly. Also, the opening scene where, Jack and Max were making a little bit of a connection with Anne in the middle, and Anne noticing that and being a little on the jealous side. I believe she said, I don't have any, right to, who am I to talk? But yeah, you really, you started all this. You invited him into this party. You're gonna have to deal. It is the three of you now, so I don't know what's going to happen. So glad to see more of Billy. I think what the brief explanation I got was pretty much what I figured, because I remember the Navy ship. I forget the name. I think was it the Scarborough? But it was the Navy ship that was coming up on them, the episode where Billy went overboard. And so I guess they rescued him, and we'll get more of that story, I'm sure. But I had become, very soon after that episode, had become very suspicious that Flint had actually actively done something. So it was, I think, confirmed, but just still not. So there's insinuations. So I'm anxious to find out the truth. And Captain Vane took advantage of Flint having been called into a room to talk with Miranda. And now they're in a hand-to-hand fight. So I can't wait to see the next episode. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me for this. I really enjoyed this episode, and I'm looking forward to the next one. If you enjoyed the reaction, please feel free to give it a like, a share, and a subscribe. Full reactions on Patreon. Be sure to join me for episode 6. All right, thanks, guys. Bye.